Yeah, I think it's okay now. There's a little bit of echo in the hall, but I guess you will be able to listen to whatever I'm saying or not saying, because sometimes the regulator also doesn't say many things but conveys it. So I'm sure you will be able to get the sense of it. Uh, Chris Gopal Krishnan, distinguished participants, members of the audience, members from the media, and all the leading representatives and participants, big or small, that is irrelevant from the fintech sector. I'm delighted to be here today in the third edition of the Global Fintech Festival. I would like to congratulate the organizers, in particular the National Payment Corporation of India, the NPCI, the Fintech Convergence Council, FCC, and the Payment Council of India, PCI, for organizing this event. The theme of the event, creating a sustainable financial world, is very relevant in current times. When, as Mr. Gopal Krishnan said, the representatives of all these three organizations, they met me. I was extremely delighted to hear that, after 2 years hiatus, after 2 years gap, you were able to organize this. And it is indeed timely because, especially during this pandemic period, it's technology, it is innovation, it is fintech, which ensured that as a country, the economy, the financial markets, and all activities, continued as usual, despite the hugely disrupting impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. In recent years, India has witnessed, as all of you would be very much aware, India has witnessed rapid progress in financial services sector. Technology, innovation, and fintech are working in tandem and contributing to the dynamism of this sector. In our journey towards higher levels of sustainable development and financial inclusion, these forces have morphed into force multipliers. We have leveraged a lot on these forces. We need to leverage even more. In fact, the theme I have chosen for my address today is fintech as a force multiplier, because we see a lot of opportunities not only for enhancing the scope, enhancing the the width and the depth of the all that is happening in the fintech sector, but the way it can deepen financial inclusion, the way it can enhance and broad base its footprint in the journey of our country towards 2047. I think there is a lot of potential, and together, if all of us, that is the regulator and the fintech players, if we work together, I think we can create several milestones in our journey towards India at 2047. Let me now get down to the specifics. There has been exponential growth of technological enablers in India. Telecom penetration, availability of internet services, adoption of technology in facilitating access to credit, more efficient payment systems, and deepening of financial inclusion have made significant progress and are continuing to progress further. The total number of these numbers are known, but to put things in perspective, let me again reiterate, the total number of broadband internet users in India stood at 80.7 crore at the end of July 2022. Similarly, with more than 46.5 crore Jandhan accounts, 134 Aadhaar enrollments, and 120 crore mobile connections, new opportunities are opening up for implementing innovative ways of integrating and delivering the various types of services. This can be gauged from the emergence of 100 unicorns in the country, with a record of 44 unicorns established only during last year. For any society aspiring to grow faster, its financial institutions must be robust, efficient, and accessible. The next decade of finance will be more focused on two central themes. One, sustainable development, and two, technology-led innovations transforming the lives of the common people. Therefore, sustainable development, and ensuring a resilient financial system, they form the fulcrum for our policy architecture. As we have all witnessed, technology has been central to the resilience in the face of COVID-19 pandemic, particularly during the lockdowns imposed around the world, not just in India, but in several countries of the world. As you are aware, the degree of lockdown varied, but almost every country saw various forms and degrees of lockdowns. It has also been, that is, technology has also been central to our response to the crisis and in supporting recovery. Technology coupled with finance safeguarded the economies by ensuring seamless disbursal of loans, robust 24/7 payment systems, access to financial markets, insurance, MSME credit, pension services, and direct benefit transfers. As per the World Bank, at least 58 governments in developing countries alone have used digital payments to deliver COVID-19 relief to their citizens. The scale of operations in this regard in India was, however, much larger and much wider compared to most of the other countries, in fact, compared to all the other countries. The Global Findex Database 2021 reported a significant increase in financial inclusion around the world. And especially in, around the world. In developing countries, 71% of people have bank accounts, up from 42% a decade ago. Approximately 40% of people who made a digital payment from their account to a merchant or to a utility service did so for the first time since the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. In India, the pandemic accelerated the push towards digitalization, especially in the rural areas. The period from March 2020 to August 2022, that is March of, when the COVID began in 2020, from March till August this year, this period has seen a massive growth of 427%, 427% in UPI transactions alone, which reached a new high of 657 crore transactions in August 2022 alone. The number of UPI QR code enabled payment acceptance points increased by about 9 crore, which constitutes about 86% year on year, to reach 20 crore at the end of July 2022, reflecting the growing acceptance and preference for contactless payments. I would now like to touch upon some of the innovations in our financial sector. These are areas where the RBI in some way or the other has been directly or rather closely associated with. The financial services industry in India has seen enormous transformation. Products like internet and mobile banking, electronic funds transfer, UPI, Aadhaar KYC, Bharat Bill Payment System, BBPS, QR scan and pay, digital prepaid instruments, and similar other initiatives have transformed the traditional banking operations. Banking hours have indeed been transcended. We now have digital, mobile, anywhere, anytime banking in our country. While several initiatives originated from the industry, the government and the regulators have created an enabling ecosystem to promote the fintech sector in the country. Initiatives like the Startup India, Digital India, the India Stack, account aggregators, peer-to-peer, that is P2P lending platforms, and 24/7 digital payment systems have proved to be key enablers in all these initiatives. The fintech ecosystem in India has indeed evolved and is poised for a giant leap. Let me now touch upon some of the other initiatives taken specifically by the Reserve Bank in this area. The regulatory Sandbox framework was released in August 2019 with a view to foster innovation. With this, the Reserve Bank entered the select group of countries that have their very own regulatory sandbox ecosystem. After 4 theme-based cohorts on retail payments, number 1, cross-border payments, number 2, MSME lending, number 3, and prevention of financial frauds, number 4, a a theme neutral fifth cohort was announced earlier this month. So that means it is theme neutral, it is open, and it is for the participants, the fintech players, to come with their original idea, whichever be the space. Earlier, we were prescribing the cohort that we would like to have some initiatives in, let us say, in MSME sector and the like. Now it is open. So it's, if anybody has a new idea and works to work on a new product in a regulated, regulated environment, please approach the Reserve Bank and our teams will examine your proposal and we will see how best we can carry it forward. So this theme, theme neutral fifth cohort has actually expanded the scope of the regulatory sandbox activity that we initiated in 2019. Now it reflects the Reserve Bank's keen desire to increase the footprint of innovation in the entire fintech space. The success stories emanating from our regulatory sandbox initiative include, among several other initiatives, they include the framework for facilitating small value digital payments in offline mode and the recently launched UPI 123 Pay, which was aimed at enhancing digital financial inclusion by enabling over 40 crore feature phone users to access the benefits of UPI in a safe and secure manner. The Reserve Bank, similarly, another initiative, the Reserve Bank for the first time organized a global hackathon titled Harbinger 2021 with a view to make retail payments more innovative. This witnessed very enthusiastic response. We received totally 363 proposals, including 22 from abroad, from countries like the United States and the United Kingdom. So 363 minus 22, the rest were responses received from players who are located within India. Now this exercise indeed gave us a glimpse of the creative talent pool that India possesses and reinforced our belief that India is well positioned to provide leadership in the fintech space. I understand that the winners of Harbinger 2021, all of them, or at least some of them, are also participating in this global fintech festival to further showcase their creativity and talent. More recently, the Reserve Bank has set up the Reserve Bank Innovation Hub as a subsidiary in Bengaluru. The hub has an eminent board of directors drawn from the private sector and domain experts. You may be aware that Chris Gopalakrishnan is chairing the board of directors, and we have other experts and players from the domain experts from the private sector. The Reserve Bank is just playing a facilitating role, and it is entirely left, there is complete autonomy so far as the functioning of the Innovation Hub is concerned. The RBI, the Reserve Bank Innovation Hub, is currently undertaking several important projects. I am confident that going forward, this Innovation Hub will benchmark itself as a center of excellence. They have developed one particular product or a process. I will come to it a little later during the course of my speech today. We have also created a new fintech department within the Reserve Bank from January this year to have focused attention, to give focused attention to this evolving and dynamic sector. The objective of this department is not only to promote innovation, but also to identify the associated challenges and opportunities and address them in a timely manner. All matters relating to facilitation of constructive innovations and incubations in the fintech space with wider implications for the financial sector and the markets are being dealt with by this department in addition to regulatory issues, interregulatory issues, and international cooperation. Further, as you would be aware, The Reserve Bank is now working on the central bank digital currency, and we are working towards having a phased implementation of the CBDCs, both in the wholesale and in the retail segments. We propose to first try it out in the wholesale segment before we move and before we enter into the retail segments, but the pilots will be carried out. In fact, it will be a pilot is not the right word, but it's a kind of a phased implementation that we are looking at. Now, this is expected to give further fillip to the digital ecosystem in our country. Now, having just explained briefly the various initiatives that the Reserve Bank has taken, let me now focus on fintech, the road ahead so far as fintech is concerned. It is known that, it is very well known that fintechs contribute to enhance efficiency in terms of service delivery and in bringing down costs. Through their customized products and customer interfaces, they provide an enriching and seamless consumer experience. They also have the potential to improve market access and a range of product offerings, apart from improving access to credit and financial inclusion in the traditionally unserved or underserved segments. In India, one of the most transformative roles that can be played by fintech is in the area of credit delivery, in partnership with the traditional lenders, especially in the rural and semi-urban areas. Timely availability of credit at reasonable cost, especially for agriculture and allied activities and MSMEs, is very crucial for our economic growth. One of the key challenges currently associated with availment of such credit is that it's a largely paper-based process with high turnaround time. Sometimes it even requires multiple visits to branches of the banks. And it also requires at times several kinds of documentation, some of which can be cumbersome. Now, it also entails high operational costs for the lenders and opportunity cost for the borrowers, because a small farmer, every time he goes to a bank branch, obviously that particular day or that particular half a day or 2 hours or 3 hours, he's not able to work on his fields. So there is an opportunity cost from that limited point of view, as well as from other point of view, so far as the farmers are concerned. It also involves costs of various types to the lending institution. Now, considering these challenges and taking forward the Reserve Bank's fintech initiatives, digitalization of agri-finance in India was ideated between the Reserve Bank and the Reserve Bank Innovation Hub. The idea was to enable frictionless delivery of Kisan credit card loans, that is KCC loans, in a paperless and hassle-free manner, and also reduce the turnaround time and avoid multiple visits to bank branches. I am happy to state that the Reserve Bank Innovation Hub has designed an end-to-end digital process. I repeat, the Reserve Bank Innovation Hub has designed an end-to-end digital process for seamless and quick access to rural credit. A pilot project based on this innovation has been launched in Madhya Pradesh and Tamil Nadu yesterday in partnership with the Union Bank and the Federal Bank respectively. For both new KYC loans, that is fresh KCC loans, for the new Kisan credit card based loans, as well as for renewal of such loans which had been sanctioned and disbursed earlier up to a threshold of rupees 1,60,000 per borrower. Going forward, based on the learnings from the pilot, the digitalization of KCC loans is proposed to be expanded to all districts of these two states, and not just that, but also to other states. It also depends a lot on the level of digitalization of the land records in various states. We are, the Reserve Bank and the Innovation Hub, we are in constant touch with various state governments, and there are other state governments also where the level of digitalization of land records is, it's in a very advanced and a very high level of, it has achieved excellent progress. So going forward, depending on the level of digitization, the digitalization of the land records of the states, depending on the success of these two pilots and depending on the learnings and the experience that we find in these two pilots, or if there are any loose ends or gaps, they have to be plugged. So depending on this experience, it will be expanded to the entire Madhya Pradesh, the states of Madhya Pradesh and Tamil Nadu, and also to other states. Eventually, our desire is to develop and operationalize an integrated and standardized technological platform to facilitate frictionless credit to all the segments of society for the whole country, with special emphasis on rural and agricultural credit. And let me say that if we can do this in the next 1 year, which we hope to do, it would be a major milestone in India's growth story and journey towards India at 2047. Another example of tech-enabled regulatory innovation by the Reserve Bank is the account aggregator framework. This is an important step towards realizing the potential of empowering millions of underserved customers to digitally access and share their financial data across institutions in a secure and efficient manner. The framework has been expanded, in the recent months, the framework has been expanded to include institutions regulated by the SEBI, the IRDAI, and the PFRDA. This is a progressive step to help customers gain control over their financial data and use it for accessing a variety of products, including credit, insurance, investments for their own benefit. Centralized KYC and video KYC are other enablers to facilitate seamless onboarding of customers in a digital and cost-effective manner. We are giving greater focus to these initiatives. The Reserve Bank is committed to take more such initiatives with the support of all stakeholders like you. In this endeavor and in collaboration with the stakeholders, 3 exciting new products are being launched later today, immediately after this particular event. That is immediately after my address is over. Now, 2 of these pertain to enhancing the feature set of UPI by facilitating small value offline transactions through Upi Lite and linking credit cards to UPI. The third initiative is the enablement of cross-border inward bill payments using the Bharat Bill Payment System, that is the BBPS. Eventually, our desire is to, the emergence of fintech players, the emergence of fintech players and the growing popularity of their innovative products have challenged the existing players in the financial services in maintaining their market share, margins, and customer base. The incumbent firms are responding to these challenges by adopting various strategies which include making investments in fintech companies and also partnering with them. They are also enhancing their in-house capabilities to adapt to the new realities. A wave of changes brought about by the fintech companies have had a positive impact in terms of enhancing inclusion and further penetration of financial services. At the same time, these developments have also ushered in an era where enormous amount of consumer data is being generated and leveraged upon by a few entities, that is the so-called big techs, by virtue of their huge customer base. Such developments, while being very much welcome, they also raise concerns on concentration risk and potential spillovers as their level of engagement with the financial system strengthens in the years to come. Therefore, potential risks to public policy objectives of maintaining competition, market and business conduct, operational resilience, data privacy, cybersecurity, and financial stability also need closer attention. As we have seen, The way digital lending has taken off in the recent past was phenomenal. While it has served the needs of various segments, it has also raised several concerns which manifested itself through spate of complaints regarding usurious interest rates, unethical recovery practices, and sometimes or quite often data privacy issues. The Reserve Bank has endeavored to address these issues proactively, and as early as June of 2020, regulatory guidance was provided to our regulated entities. Now, these guidance, among other things, mandated that digital lending platforms disclose the names of the banks or NBFCs upfront on whose behalf they were providing the credit. The recently issued regulatory guidelines on digital lending strive a well-considered balance between customer protection and business conduct on the one hand and supporting innovation on the other. Let me emphasize that while innovations are very much welcome, and I say it with all the emphasis at my command, that while innovations are very much welcome and the Reserve Bank will continue to be supportive of it and the Reserve Bank will welcome it, and we will in fact go 2 steps forward to discuss with you if you just come 1 step forward. But having said that, while all these are there and all these are a part of our agenda and our scheme of things and our thinking, now these innovations also must be responsible and should enhance the efficiency and resiliency of the financial system while benefiting the consumers. Robust internal product and service assurance frameworks, together with fair and transparent governance, will go a long way to safeguard the interest of the customers and ensure long-term sustainability of the fintech entities themselves. The level of due diligence and oversight exercised by the regulated entities on their outsourced activities need to be strengthened further. This would help in proactive mitigation of risks at the incipient stage itself. I would also like to flag certain material concerns regarding the unbridled mushrooming of digital lending apps. The need of the hour is to ensure assurance of safety after following a process of green lighting or whitelisting and due diligence by the regulated entities. The Reserve Bank, in associated with other relevant agencies, is taking steps to address this issue and take further steps as may be necessary. As we continue to support technological advancement and innovation, it is equally important that adequate attention is also placed on governance and conduct issues. I have already touched upon it, but just I want to add once again that at the end of the day, I want to emphasize that at the end of the day, sustainability of any fintech activity or business is about enhanced customer protection, better cybersecurity and resilience, managing financial integrity, and strong data protection. I wish to assure, and I just said this a little while ago, I wish to assure all of you, the fintech community, that the Reserve Bank will continue to encourage and support innovation. At the same time, we should expect the ecosystem to pay attention to governance, business conduct, regulatory compliance, and risk mitigation frameworks. The fintech road ahead will witness ever-growing traffic in addition to the existing players who are already there. It is therefore imperative that every player on this road follows the traffic rules for his or her own safety and the safety of the others. Let me now conclude by stating that a sustainable financial world is not just for us, it is for the future generations also. It is up to us how we want to move forward in this journey. The Reserve Bank's focus has always been on encouraging innovation by providing an enabling environment. Simultaneously, as the guardian of financial stability in the country, the Reserve Bank also remains watchful of any undue risk buildup and responds to them from time to time or as may be necessary. The fintech players like you, I'm sure, will join us in this endeavor. With the amazing talent base that we have in India and the giant leaps we have taken in the digital and fintech space in recent years, I'm confident that India is well poised to shape the future course in this area. As we set sail for a brighter future, I wish you all a safe and fulfilling journey ahead. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, our Honorable Governor, Reserve Bank of India, Shri Shaktikanta Das, has also agreed to take a couple of questions from our members of the audience. So we're going to request you to please raise your hands and please keep your questions really brief. We'll have the mics quickly passed on so that we can have your questions and we can have Sir answer them as well. So any further questions, please raise your hands. Yes, we see a couple of hands. So could you please keep it raised? We'll just pass the mic to you. I also request you to please introduce yourself before directing your question.
Good evening, sir. I'm Sachin Bavri. I head the risk function in one of the LSPs. It's a Khata book. The entity name is ADJ Utility Apps. So in context of the recent guidelines, digital lending guidelines specifically, for sure there are concerns upon transmission of risk, systemic risk, from reckless lending to regulated entities. And in that context, there were various measures that were announced there. One of them was the FLDG restraint. While, sir, the entire thought process intent is well appreciated, but I guess would you also tend to consider this to be a very harsh step where everybody is painted by the same brush in possibly adding to systemic risk, while quite a few of them may themselves be responsible and therefore not engage in reckless practices.
If I've understood correctly, you see this FLDG, what we have said in that first press release we issued is that it is under examination. We have not decided because the consultations are complete. There have been a lot of consultation. We have received a lot of stakeholder feedback also. But there were a few other issues which required much deeper examination within the RBI. So that is a separate exercise which is going on. And as and when we take a view, we will come out with that. But I'm not really able to, I would not agree with you that everybody is being painted in the same brush. I mean, there are regulated entities, there are unregulated entities. So there is a clear distinction between the two. Now, this is one area, this is an evolving area which has evolved over the last, several months or last maybe 2, 3 or 4 years. So now we have studied the entire sector. There was a committee, as you know, which was appointed. And all that we have done is that we have given the ground rules. Based on the ground rules, if anyone has a difficulty, you are always welcome to come and discuss with the Reserve Bank. We have subsequently first we issued a press release, which gave out the details of the scheme. Then we issued what we call a circular or a direction, whatever you call it. There we have taken into account some feedback we received. One major feedback was that the transition time would be required. So therefore, we have given some transition time of about 3 months. I think we gave up to November 30th, if I remember correctly. And we gave it out on 1st or 2nd September. So 3 months time we have given. So therefore, our intention is not to not to penalize anybody, not to stifle any activity. All that we are saying is that please follow the traffic rules. That's what I have said. And if there is any difficulty for anyone, please, you are welcome to sort of give your feedback, suggestion. We will definitely give it a look.
Thank you, sir.
On that note, we have room for just one last question. Yes, sir.
Hi, this is Mitesh here. I'm from Miss Call Pay. So they recently launched UPI 123 Pay, and sir, I was very fortunate that on the August event on 3rd or 8th of March 2022, I was at your. So while I'm thanking you that you are giving a great push for UPI 123 Pay and feature phone payments, what I will also request is there any process where actually, because the cost of transactions at UPI 123 Pay is far exceeding the cost of transaction of traditional UPI, because of the telecom and other charges that are there. With the newly reform that is trying to come on 3rd of this October, there is some suggestions on PIDF schemes and all that to bring new kind of subsidies. Is something planned for UPI 123 Pay as to a different kind of subsidies for people enabling payments in the rural India?
No, as you know, whatever subsidies and all that the government is giving, RBI doesn't give any subsidies, and surely the NPCI also cannot give, because it's a kind of it's a non-profit company, but it has to run on commercial lines. Now, any new product or any innovation in the initial months or in the initial years, obviously the costs will be more because your overheads are also loaded onto your costs. But going forward, as the volumes increase, I suppose things even out. But without knowing specifically what your problem is, I cannot really. In any case, subsidy is something which RBI doesn't give. But I really don't know your specific issues. We will discuss with the NPCI and see what is the exact issue. Maybe our department has already discussed with you. I will take a feedback and let's see what can be done about it. But let me clarify that the Reserve Bank does not give any subsidies.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen.
And also, any product has to be, I mean, the whole idea of innovation is that it has to, it has to be cost effective. So therefore, at the same time, the innovators also will have to see in what way the costs can be minimized. Because if you depend on subsidy for a perennially or for a long period, I think it's not a good thing. And as innovators, as players in the fintech space or digital space, I think you will know better that it has to be ultimately, at the end of the day, commercially self-sustaining.
On that note, ladies and gentlemen, once again, can we have a huge round of applause for Shri Shaktikanta Das for sharing his valuable words. And sir, I'm going to request you to remain on the stage as we will now be marching ahead with the NPCI launches. I'd like to thank Mr. Chris Gopalakrishnan. So thank you so much for joining us. With that, we'll also set the stage right now, ladies and gentlemen. And as we all know that the Reserve Bank this year in its monetary policy meeting decided to allow linking of credit cards to UPI, thereby providing additional convenience to the users and also enhance the scope of digital payments. This idea is now becoming a reality with our next agenda, ladies and gentlemen, which is where you'll actually be witnessing history in the making with the launches of much-awaited Rupee credit card on UPI, Upi Lite, and Bharat Bill Pay Inward cross-border bill payment solution. So on that amazing note, it is only befitting that I also invite Shri Bishwamohan Mahapatra, Chairman, National Payments Corporation of India, and Shri Nandan Nilekani, Non-Executive Chairman of Infosys and Advisor to NPCI, to please come on the stage. Kindly request all of you to please take your seats. As a part of the NPCI launch, first up, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Mr. Bishwa Mohan Mahapatra, who's a non-executive chairman of NPCI, a central banker with a career spanning over 33 years at the Reserve Bank of India and retired as its executive director in August 2014. As the executive director in RBI, he handled banking regulation and policy and was also instrumental in implementation of the Basel III regulations. He was also the faculty in the areas of banking regulation, supervision, and risk management. So to present the welcome address, may I humbly please invite Shri Bishwa Mohan Mahapatra. And can we have a huge round of applause one more time, ladies and gentlemen.
Good evening, Namaste. On behalf of NPCI, I have the pleasure of extending a very warm and hearty welcome to Honorable Governor, Reserve Bank of India, Sri Shaktikanta Das. He has been a constant source of inspiration and guidance for NPCI. If you see every monetary policy that he announces, he will include something for NPCI to push the envelope further so that NPCI really is on the toes and we work on different services and products to make the consumer's life more easy, more friendly, and more, of course, secure and sound. I am also grateful to Sri Nandan Niletani to be present here today. I extend my warm and hearty welcome to him. He has been a constant strength to NPCI. He is our honorary advisor on innovation and public policy. So whatever NPCI does in this area, we have his blessings always. Thank you, sir. So today we have gathered here to launch 3 NPCI services which were announced by Governor in different which are announced in different monetary policy announcements. As I told you in the beginning, that Governor pushes the envelope further and further. So every time he'll announce, and we really appreciate that, and it keeps us on our toes, and we try to deliver on the promise at the shortest possible time. The 3 launches that we'll make in his august hands today. 1 is the Rupee credit card on UPI, 2 Upi Lite, and 3 BBPS on cross-border bill payments. A little bit about these 3 products. As you know, the Rupee credit card on UPI, if you use a credit card, more so if you go to rural and semi-urban areas, you don't find a POS machine so that you can use your card. Now, if the Rupee credit card runs on UPI railroad, probably with the help of the UPI QR code, one can use the Rupee credit card and do the transactions. So this will ensure further penetration of the Rupee credit card into the rural and semi-urban areas and ensure financial inclusion. The second product or service that Governor is going to launch today is Upi Lite. As you know, UPI is a real-time retail payment system. By real-time, we really put a lot of pressure on the information technology system of the banks because the accounts are debited and credited on a real-time basis. And as you know, 50% of the transactions on UPI are for smaller values of less than 200 rupees. So if we can transfer or somehow manage to take this on a direct pressure on the bank's CVS system, probably the UPI will run more efficiently, there will be less number of transaction declines, and this also will be equally real time, but on a lighter board, on the wallet itself, there will be UPI, so we call it UPI Lite. And third, but not the least, I mean, Indians are all over the world, and people are living in many countries, different countries. Their families may be here, the old parents may be here, their houses may be here, or they may be subscribing to some mutual fund, SIPs or insurance premium, monthly premium or quarterly premium, whatever it may be. They'll be able to pay cross-border for these services through the railroads of the BBPS system. So cross-border payment will be enabled by this facility, this service. So all these, as I said, were announced by Governor in his policies in different points in time, not very far, maybe within 1 year's time, these are announced, and we are able to deliver it today, and it will be launched today. Governor said that in August, UPI transaction was 6.5 billion transactions in the month of August itself. Sir, our aspiration is to have 1 billion transactions in a single day. I mean, so we have set the goal very high so that NPCI can enable 1 billion transactions per day. And we know, we are very sure, with your support, with the ecosystem player support, with the bank support, and the TPAPs, Fintechs, and all of you, and the consumers, I mean, we'll be able to achieve this milestone. And the government, the RBI, the ecosystem players have all been supportive to NPCI in its journey. And we are 12 years old organization, and we aspire very high, and with your blessings, we'll be able to achieve that. And sir, we now request you for the launching of these products. Okay, I think as for the program, I'll request Sri Nandan Nilatani to speak. Then Governor will launch the programs and have his keynote address. Mr. Nandan.
Honorable Governor of RBI, Shri Shaktikanta Das ji, Shri Mahapatra, Chairman NPCI, RBI CGM, Mr. Vasudevan, government officials present, and digital payment ecosystem partners. It's really great to be here. It's a very exciting time. And I think we are seeing the Indian digital payment journey being pushed to new boundaries. And I think we all agree that what has been achieved is phenomenal, nothing short of phenomenal. Now, it's difficult to imagine, but the idea of UPI is less than 10 years old. It was conceived around 2013. It was launched in 2016. And then, since then it has taken off dramatically over the last several years. And credit goes to all of you and to NPCI and most importantly to RBI, because I think RBI is become a world leader in combining regulation and innovation. And I think credit goes to Mr. Das. I think just before the pandemic, Mr. Das and I were in Basel at the meeting of BIS, where all the central bank governors were there, and they're all marveling at what India has done. So I think credit goes to RBI for showing the world how to combine regulation and innovation. So the great. And I can say, when I joined Aadhaar UIDAI as the chairman in 2009, the first phone call I got was from RBI, saying we want to use ID for financial inclusion. So even the thinking has always been how to use technology well, and we have seen the revolution with Aadhaar, UPI, and now we are moving on to more things. And ever since 2014, the Prime Minister with the Digital India program has completely accelerated first the jam trinity of Aadhaar under mobile, and now the UPI penetration as we talked about. But I think this is just part of the journey. I think a few things that are coming which I think are very exciting. One is, of course, the account aggregator system, which RBI has championed. I think the account aggregator system is going to create its own set of revolutions. And once it's applied to credit and lending, it will make lending as simple as making a payment. And therefore, the whole lending will change. But at the same time, because it is all based on data, it will be much more sounder and risk-free. So even as we grow digital lending, applying, account aggregator is just going to make it even more scalable. And I believe it will have a massive impact on democratization of credit. Another big, initiative is the whole ONDC, which is the Open Network for Digital Commerce. NPCI is one of the shareholders. Wonderful initiative by the government, and the idea is how do we disaggregate e-commerce and allow retailers to participate, suppliers to participate, different logistics companies to participate. And this is going to have a big impact on how commerce is done, because everybody in India will now be doing e-commerce. So every small retailer, every small supplier will be doing e-commerce. It will have a big impact on hyperlocal commerce and quick commerce, because a small retailer will be able to participate. And this combination of credit enabled through UPI and enabled through account aggregator and ONDC will fundamentally reorder the supply chain of India to become far more efficient and far easier to reach products and services to everybody. Now, in particular, I want to acknowledge that the payments group at RBI has really been cutting edge, led by Mr. Ravi Shankar, Mr. Vasudevan, and they combine both knowledge but also, understanding of risk. Because when you sit as a regulator, when you're sitting as an innovator, everything looks hunky-dory. But when you sit as a regulator, you also have to think about fraud, about losses, about things going wrong. And I think this combination they've been able to do very well. Now, I think the launch of the things today will actually democratize UPI even further. Today, I think we have about 260 million people using UPI. And I think with the launch of the offline UPI at 123, I think we can add another 500 million people to the payment system. So we'll be having 500,000 people in India doing digital payments. We already have about 150 million people in India using Aadhaar-enabled payment system. Again, something that was done by UIDAI and RBI about 8 years back. And that is, again, has 150 million users already using AEPS to withdraw money in small towns and villages through a network of a few 100,000 BCs. So that's been another big change in the way money is reaching to the poor. And I think all these changes that they're coming in will be a game changer for India. I think on the credit side, I personally see the launch of UPI and Rupee credit card as the first step of credit on UPI. And I think it's a very sensible first step, because we already have an existing credit product like Rupee, and by making it available on UPI, you are testing the waters of credit. But as we go forward, and as I think the RBI gets more confidence with this, they will, I'm sure, right, Mr. Vasudevan? I hope so. I'm sure they'll open up to more forms of credit on UPI, and therefore there'll be new native credit abilities on UPI like BNPL and so on. And imagine if there are 400, 500 million people on UPI, and if they have access to native credit using BNPL and other tools, and using the digital footprint of their transactions, there'll be a massive democratization of consumer use of credit in a very, very healthy way. It'll all be based on data. So I think that's really the next big thing which will happen there. Also, I think the good thing about UPI Lite will be that it'll benefit the whole load on the banking systems. I think the banking systems have massive load of transactions. And if the bulk of these small value transactions can be taken away from the banking system and done locally, I think it will reduce the pressure on the banking systems of the bank. So this will also increase the speed and reduce the technical declines. And I think getting this right will be very important to get to that 1 billion a day that Mr. Mahapatra talked about. Also, I think the BBPS cross-border is very important. I think in general, cross-border is going to be very important, because India is the country which gets the largest amount of remittances in the world. Indians send $86 billion a year of inward remittance, and this is sent from places where they work, whether the Gulf or Singapore or US or whatever. And there is a requirement to enable them to send money quickly, cheaply. And I think, I know that NPCI is working on building the cross-border pipes. So in general, building cross-border pipes for bill payment and for remittances, for creating a global acceptance network, all these will be very important for the global dispersion of the technology that we have. Also, we don't talk about it, but the technology infrastructure NPCI is among the most advanced anywhere in the world. They have built these platforms like UPI entirely on an open source stack at very low cost using commodity hardware and built it for scale. So right from day one, they talked about how do we build an infrastructure for billion a day. A billion a day is not a small number. And the fact that they're confidently talking about doing it means the confidence they have in the infrastructure that they have built. And that infrastructure now is being reapplied to other applications they have like IMPS and APS. So the underlying core infrastructure is now being standardized by NPCI, which is a phenomenal technical achievement because it's happening while it's online. And we don't even know that behind the scenes, they're doing major surgery and putting this at a whole different level. I think another point I just want to emphasize is what I would call as combinatorial innovation, that this infrastructure is actually having a huge impact on the country. And I'll give you two examples from the capital markets. The first has been the revolution in IPOs, because we have connected UPI to ASBA. And today, any large IPO like a LIC IPO, more than half the transactions, I think, are UPI on ASBA, which means that people on their phone are applying for shares, they're blocking the money using ASBA, and the money is only deducted when they get the allotment. And this has had a big impact on streamlining our primary markets. And the second thing is the impact of recurring mandates on systemic investment plans, or SIPs. India today last month got 12,000 crores of money into SIPs. And that's happening because you can give a recurring mandate, either an NACH or using UPI autopay. And because of that, domestic money is coming into capital markets. And one of the reasons why our capital markets have withstood the FPIs going out is precisely because domestic investors were coming through SIP route, all enabled by the technology at NPCI. So, there are a lot of ripple effects of all this which are impacting the economy, impacting, India's global situation, reducing risk and so on. So that is something which is very, very interesting. But anyway, I think today we have some great launches, but this is just the beginning. I think there are many more things NPCI has to do. There are many more things that RBI has to enable. And I'm sure that India will continue to be a leader and role model in the world of financial technology. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your visionary thoughts with us. Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the evening wherein we gear up for the big launch, as we have been discussing about. And that being said, first up, we shall begin with the launch of the Rupee credit card on UPI. So I request our Honorable Governor, Reserve Bank of India, Shri Shaktikanta Das. Sir, I request you to please activate the launch by tapping the tab. Just tap on this.
Introducing Rupee credit card on UPI. Today, India has over 8 crore credit card users with the potential to reach 30 crore credit card users by the year 2026, which will fuel the growth of GDP of our country. Today, the usage of retail credit has diversified with the inclusion of young non-metro users who are driving spends through credit card. However, the merchant ecosystem has acceptance of just 68 lakh cards at POS terminals. To ensure increased acceptance and usage, Reserve Bank of India has approved the linkage of Rupee credit cards on UPI, making it a seamless, digitally enabled credit experience. With credit on UPI, customers will get one-stop solution for all their credit card needs. They can pay their credit card bills, check credit balance, manage credit life cycle, get UPI help for credit card dispute, set up UPI autopay for bill payments. And for merchants, it opens up the avenue to cater to a new set of credit customers, thus ensuring growth in their business. Credit cards on UPI will ensure easy, safe, and instant digital transactions. Let's see how this works. To link your Rupee credit card with UPI, open the Bhim UPI app. Click on the Add Credit Card option. Select the bank that issued your Rupee credit card. Now, select the Rupee credit account. Enter the last 6 digits and validity details of your Rupee credit card. Enter the OTP received. Set and confirm your UPI PIN. And it's linked. Now let's see how to make UPI payment with Rupee credit card. While making purchases at any credit-enabled merchant store from your Bhim UPI app, scan the UPI QR code. Choose credit card account as your debit option. Now enter the UPI PIN to pay. And you are done. You can also enjoy the benefits of Rupee credit card on UPI while making payments for groceries, movies, travel, food, shopping, jewelry, restaurants, and much more. Now enjoy a seamless digitally enabled credit experience with Rupee on UPI.
Can we have a huge round of applause one more time, ladies and gentlemen, with the launch of the Rupee credit card on UPI. I'd like to request our dignitaries to please take your seats so that we can also invite up next for the live transaction demonstration. I'd like to invite Mr. Kunal Kalavatia, Chief of Product, NPCI, to please come on stage. We will now be witnessing the live transaction demonstration.
Good evening, Nandan sir. Good evening, Chairman sir. Thank you very much. I think credit for today goes to India, the Indian consumers who have given us this glory on digital payments. Credit goes to RBI for setting up the vision for digital payments constantly year after year, and I think leading this path. Credit goes to the banks, the ecosystems, the fintechs for standing up, for spending late nights, developing the ecosystem around us. Credit goes to Team NPCI. Thanks for working hard. Thanks for getting me on the stage and making it confirm that the transaction goes through when we attempt now. This is live transaction. When the screen blanks out, it's a planned blank out. It's when you're entering the PIN, you can't show the PIN page. That's why you're blanking it out. So don't worry, it's planned. Credit goes to UPI. With so much of credit, we thought, let's add credit to UPI. We're going to show you a live demo. I have my friend Deepak who will be helping me through the process of the credit card live transaction. Yes, on the screen, we're opening the Bhim app. The Bhim app is live. We have Punjab National Bank and Union Bank already live. We have Union already moved, Indian Bank who's already moved into production. We have not been able to add an account, but it's live in production. There are many banks who will go live in the coming next 1 week itself, live on credit cards. We go to the top left-hand corner where you see the bank logo, and you can see the credit accounts which are linked already. Yeah, that happens. That's with technology. Yeah, I think we can see the second and the fourth screen is the Union Bank credit card and the PNB credit card linked on the Bhim app. Yes, I think the first thing before you shop or you make commitments on shopping, I think it's prudent to just check how much do you carry. So Deepak, if you can tell me how much you're going to be shopping with me. Deepak? Yeah. So I think the latest iPhone. Yeah, no, I think this is a bit short there. You can't buy the iPhone, but you can buy something for 49,919. That's the balance. The customer can check the balance. Now I think we do a transaction, Deepak. So we'll do a small value transaction, Deepak. You can buy me something. We're going to scan merchant QR. Yeah. Yeah. We're doing a small value transaction for demo, but I can assure you we'll buy something out of this credit limit available. We'll add to the economy of the country there. You select the bank account or the credit card account. The customer gets an option, chooses the bank account, confirms. That's when the screen is going to blank out after the send button. But that's when he's entering the PIN. He's entering the PIN. He's not supposed to tell me this. You're not supposed to tell your PIN to anyone. The transaction gets processed and it's done. The buffering is because of the network here. It's intended. Thank you. Thanks to everyone here for making this transaction a success. Thank you.
That truly deserves a thrilling round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. One more time, everyone. And with that, we will now gear up for the launch of UPI Lite. Once again, I request all our dignitaries to please come forward to activate the launch by tapping the tab, sir.
Under the guidance of RBI, NPCI has ushered a new era of digital payments, which is both secured and seamless in India. This superior payment experience has helped the UPI platform to scale from a single transaction to 1 million and now billions of transactions. UPI has enabled new segments of trade and commerce and is now on its way to make instant payments available across the globe. With the growth of digital transactions in India, there is a need to further innovate and make payments even faster and simpler for consumers. RBI has laid down the vision of offline payments and has supported the ecosystem by enabling an on-device wallet approach to support fast offline payments. Taking this vision of RBI, NPCI has created UPI Lite, which will enable an on-device wallet for faster and simpler payments. While the vision is to enable offline payments, in this phase, UPI Lite will make payments simple, fast, and secure. The enablement will not only improve user experience but help the ecosystem to grow. The UPI Lite will help customers to make transactions without cluttering their passbook or bank statements. User will also experience better transaction success rates. This solution also helps banks to better manage the load on their IT systems and is a scalable solution. Presenting UPI Lite, bringing speed and convenience to India. With UPI Lite, you can now transact with any UPI Lite enabled application and make payments without the need for a UPI PIN. Let's see how it works. Download any UPI app, enable UPI Lite by adding funds using your UPI PIN. Add funds from your savings account to the UPI Lite wallet. These funds will reside in the common library of the UPI app, which provides the on-device wallet service. Now, every time you transact, you need to do a secure login to the application. You can either scan a QR, enter a UPI ID or a UPI number, or use any existing payment flow on UPI. Transactions below Rs 200 can be done via UPI Lite without using UPI PIN, thus making UPI faster and bringing a better customer experience for all Indians. UPI now faster, easier and more convenient. Powered by NPCI.
Well, I'm sure everyone is eagerly looking forward to another live transaction demonstration. I'm going to request our dignitaries to please take your seats so that I can invite once again Mr. Kunal Kalavatia to please share with us the live transaction demonstration. Over to you.
Thank you. I think with such a heavy-duty launch in the panel here, the audience is here, I think we want to make it a bit light. I think the demo starts with one small exercise. I think you need to show your smartphones. I'm not carrying one right now, but I think your smartphones, please. I think I request everyone to download the Bheem app. Dilip, Pravina, I've done my due there. Yeah, you can download the Bheem app. This product is available to you right now. Big heavyweight banks, SBI, SDFC, Kotak, Punjab National Bank, Union Bank, Canara Bank, Utkarsh Small Finance Bank. If you have bank accounts there, you can connect the account right now, do a transaction yourself. I will be sharing my UPI ID with everyone here. Small contribution works. Again, I think just walking you through how this is going to be working, it's very, very simple. You go to the left-hand side of the Bheem app, the bank logo, you can see You've attached the UPI Lite. Let the screen settle. Yeah. You can again do, I think you click on the UPI Lite tab. You can see the actions that you can do. You can add money, you can send money. When you're adding money, the max limit is allowed is 2,000 rupees anytime. When you're sending money, the max transaction is 200. But let me tell you, as a customer, you don't have to remember. We've done something smart here. Josh, you want to possibly see how we add money. So if you have a balance of 1947, which is the time when we got free, we've in a free world with digital payments now. 2000 minus 1947, I don't need to do maths. The app will calculate it. So that's the smart top-up logic that we build up here. If you want to add up, you can add up money there. When you're sending money, we'll scan a QR and see how the smart logic again comes back into play there. We'll do a bit of a play there. Yeah, I think when you're adding, I think 201, please, Josh, it automatically moves to the main account. So as soon as the transaction is going beyond 200, the app automatically detects it, moves it to the main account. If you go down, make it 20, just remove the 1, the UPI Lite account features there. If you press confirm, it goes through, no entry pin required, the transaction goes through. It declutters the app, it declutters the passbooks of the consumers, no pin required. For the banks, it declutters their tech infrastructure. So that's Lite for us. This is because of the network here. I think the screen comes faster than this. It reduces the transaction time from 5 seconds to less than 2. It is going to reduce TD by 80% and business declines by 50% for low value transactions, which is a significant portion of UPI transactions today. Almost 54% of UPI transactions, which is on the higher side than 3 billion transactions a month, is less than 200 rupees ticket size. So that's a big enablement. While we call the product Lite, it has a heavy duty job to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kunal. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time to gear up for the launch of the Bharat Bill Pay Inward Cross-Border Bill Payment Solution. So once again, I'm going to request our dignitaries to kindly step forward to tap the tab so that we can all witness history this evening.
Bharat Bill Pay is an interoperable platform that offers convenience of recurring bill payments to every citizen of India. Bharat Bill Pay has transformed the bill payment experience for every customer and every biller, making bill payments seamless, helping Indians to pay bills faster and quicker. Bharat Bill Pay strives to service the customers and its key stakeholders, billers, banking partners, fintechs, and TSPs, and support every Indian make bill payments seamlessly. It's time to extend this benefit beyond boundaries and service 30 million plus non-resident Indians. Presenting Bharat Bill Pay Inward Cross-Border Bill Payment Solution. A unique solution created to help non-resident Indians pay recurring bills for their loved ones in India. Let's see how it works. Meet Kumar, a site engineer working in Dubai. He often sends money to Kollam, his hometown in Kerala. He remits substantial sum every month to his brother for paying utility bills for family. Despite making regular transfers, he has no way of confirming whether the bill has been appropriately paid and on time or not. The process is cumbersome and lengthy, but has he got to live with it? No, he doesn't. With the Bharat Bill Pay cross-border bill payment solution, he can now make bill payments easily through any of the exchange houses app, website, branch or collection point. This solution will enable bill payments across the globe for Indians, thereby empowering every non-resident Indians to pay bills easily, bridging the bill payments gap, bringing in new opportunities with multiple payment modes and channels. Bharat Bill Pay, empowering payments for Indians everywhere, anytime, anywhere.
Let's have another prolific round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And I think by now we know what's the drill, what's coming up next. Another live transaction demonstration, for which I'd like to invite on stage Nupur Chaturvedi, CEO, Bharat Bill Pay, and Shweta Shetty.
Hello. Good evening all of you. When Mr. Neil Kedi asks us to push the boundaries, we don't just push them, but also cross them. With that, we will attempt a cross-border transaction here in this hall, helping Mr. Kumar that we see sitting in Dubai to make a payment for his family back in Kollam. Can I request for the screen to be brought up, please? Yes. So our payment partner for today's launch is Lulu International Exchange. We now have their app, which we will open. The customer needs to log in to this particular app. We have Federal Bank powering this transaction from the India side. Once the customer has entered the app, he will see a very familiar logo that you all know by now, which is the Be Assured BBPS logo. Under the BBPS logo, all the categories that are enabled for NRIs will show up. Can we just click and see all the categories, please? Once the categories come in, Mr. Kumar will then select which category does he want to pay for. In our case, it will be a lending EMI transaction that we will attempt. Given the bandwidth here and the network issues, I am using the word attempt. My apologies for that. The customer then selects the category, which is EMI, post which he will select the lender and enter his loan account number. Yep, let's move forward. Some tech glitches, apologies for that. But given the fact that it is happening outside of India, we can expect some of this. To reiterate, the first exchange house to go live is Lulu International Exchange. They have a presence in 9 countries in Middle East as well as Southeast Asia. They will enable not just the digital app, but also their physical points for doing assisted bill payment transactions for the Indian diaspora in these countries. Our payment partner is also Federal Bank, which has a market share of more than 20% of inward remittances even today. With this, hopefully, the number of transactions and their market share should increase upward. Also, I would like to thank our TSP partner, which is DigiLedge, which has worked overnight over the last 2 weeks since the RBI approval came in to enable these 2 partners to go live. Yes, so now we have the biller coming in. Once the biller name is entered, there's a requirement for the loan account number, which is entered. On pressing continue, the bill of Indian lender gets fetched. Here are all the details that you can see. The amount is mentioned in 2 languages, which is the local currency as well as INR. Once the bill is fetched, the customer can choose to either pay or schedule. In this case, here is the successful transaction that has been powered by BBPS. So finally, I can take a breath. And with that, thank you very much for all the partners and all the audience. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nupur. And ladies and gentlemen, while we have witnessed history with the launch over here, can we once again have a huge round of applause, everyone coming together